All right, so today we're going to continue our conversation talking about the various data types in Python. And if you haven't watched it yet, you'll want to go back and watch the basic data types video where we talked about booleans, integers, floats, and strings. Today we're going to pick up where we left off in that video, and we're going to talk specifically about lists. And so what is a list? Lists, first of all, are super common. You're going to come across these quite often. And the reason why is because they are a very flexible data type. And by flexible, I technically mean they are mutable. And what that means is once you create a list, you can modify it. You can add new items to your list. You can delete items from your list. Lists, like I said, they're super flexible in that they can store any type of element. And so lists can store strings, floats, and integers. Lists can also store other lists in tuples. And so lists are really flexible in that they can basically store any type of data that you want to store. Sometimes they are ordered, and lists are created using square brackets. And so let's go on ahead and create a list. And we're going to create a list called groceries. And again, it's created using square brackets. And each element within your list is separated simply by a comma. Okay? We have the single quotations, which specifies the type of data that we're creating within our groceries list is a string. All right, so let's go on ahead and create that. And then we're going to print our grocery list. And we're going to print groceries is a, and then we're going to see what type of data element groceries is. Groceries is a list. All right, next I'm going to show you how you can add and remove items from a list and update a list that you've already created. But first, before we do that, you have to understand the concept of zero-based indexing. And so Python uses zero-based indexing, and all that basically means is that when you are accessing elements in your data, the first element in your data will always be at the index 0. So if you wanted to call the first element in your list, you basically would use the 0 value index to call the first element in your list. If you use the 1 index value, it's actually going to return the second item in our list. So we can see here, eggs is the first item, bacon is the second item, but when we do groceries 1, it returns bacon because of the zero-based indexing. If we do groceries 0, it'll return eggs because eggs is it's the first item in the list, but it's at the index 0. All right, so that's very helpful to know, and it'll help you to understand what's happening when we go through and update and modify our lists. You can check to see if there are elements in your list using the in or not in commands or functions. And so if we say is bacon in groceries, that would return the Boolean value of true. If we wanted to check to see if an item is not in our list, we just say not in groceries. And so that would return the value of false because ice cream is actually in our grocery list. But what if we wanted to get rid of that ice cream? What if we wanted to focus on eating healthier and laying off the junk food? If we go back here, we're just going to print the list so we have it right here in front of us. And we specify index 4, return groceries, return from groceries, the value or the element at index 4. We'll see that the value is ice cream. And if we wanted to delete ice cream from our list, we would just simply use the delete command. And that would delete the item at index 4 from our grocery list. But what if we still want to have a snack available? We just don't want that snack to be junk food. Say we wanted to replace that ice cream with hummus. It's actually a very simple thing to do. We specify the list, we specify the element at whatever index we wanted to replace. We use the equal sign, and then we specify the value of that we want to replace. And if we do that, we will see that ice cream is no longer in our list. It is now replaced with hummus. All right, next, I want to show you how to do some math within and on our list. So we're going to create a separate list. We're going to call that list prices. We're going to fill it with a bunch of float values. And then we're going to take those prices and we're going to combine them with our groceries, and we're going to assign the elements from both of these lists to our shopping list. We're going to print our shopping list, and we'll see that we now have all of our prices and all of our groceries basically as individual elements within a list called shopping list. What if we wanted to do some math and figure out how much our shopping list is going to cost and when we go to the grocery store this time? We could try to do some shopping list, but I think you know what's going to happen. We're going to get an error, and we're going to get an error because, as I mentioned before, we can't do addition on string values. Those string values don't actually represent numbers, so to speak, and so we can't add or subtract, these values. We can only do the mathematical operations on the floats or the integers. And so how do we get around that? Well, we get around that basically, and there's different ways to do this, but in this example, we're going to get around that by creating shopping list that is made of two individual lists. So instead of shopping list being one list, all right, as noted by the square brackets here, one list with 10 individual elements, shopping list is now going to be two lists, which is specified using the brackets. It's going to be two lists, and within each of those lists, they will have their individual elements. So shopping list is actually two elements. Those elements are list 1 and list 2. And then within list 1, we have 5 elements, and within list 2, we also have 5 elements. So if we do that, you'll see the difference in shopping list here and the difference in shopping list here is that shopping list in the second example is made up of two individual lists. Now, if we wanted to call an element from shopping list, we do it the same way that we do it before. Using the zero-based indexing, we can call the prices list, or we can call the grocery list, or if we wanted to now, because shopping list is comprised of individual lists and we can reference those individual lists, we can perform math on the first list in shopping list, which is our prices list. If we wanted to just round that up to make it a little bit easier on the eyes, we can use round to 2 decimals, and there we have it. We know that this trip to the grocery store is going to cost approximately $24.48. So now I just wanted to show you how you can access specific elements within your list, especially now that your list is actually comprised of two individual lists. And so if we call shopping list at index, if we call the element at index 1 from our shopping list, we can see that we get the second nested list. What if we wanted to call eggs from that second nested list? We would just add another pair of brackets and the index for the element that we would want to call, and it would return eggs. If we wanted to get a pseudo key value pair from our prices and groceries list, I've provided an example here how you can do that, where basically we're just printing shopping list element 1 and then the element at index 0 from element 1, our colon, and then shopping list element 0, which is our first list, and then the first element from that list. And so eggs are $2 and a penny. You can add an item to your shopping list just by doing this, and that actually does one thing where now shopping list is basically two lists, and then there's a third string within that. So this is what I was saying before, where lists are super flexible. But what if we didn't want cheese to be like its own thing out here on an island? We wanted it to be part of our nested list of groceries, which you may or may not want that depending on your use case. But we would basically specify shopping list index 1, which would give us our grocery list, and then we would add cheese to that. And so now we can see that shopping list at index 1 has the added element of cheese. You can do some math here. If we do shopping list times 2, that basically doubles our list. So we now have basically the exact same thing twice. If we do prices times 2, you may think that intuitively this would multiply all of our prices by the value of 2, but it doesn't do that. It basically just multiplies, just like above, the entire list by 2. It basically just duplicates it. If you did prices times 3, it's going to return it 3 times, prices times 10. It's basically not actually doing the math here. It's just doubling the size of our list or tripling the size of our list. So how would we do that? How do we perform the math on our list? So there's different ways that you can do this. I'm actually going to provide you with a couple of different examples that basically accomplish the same goal, just with slightly different syntax. But basically what we're going to do is use a loop. And what we're going to do with that loop is we're going to iterate over our prices list. And for each item in our prices list, we're going to multiply that item by 2, and then we're going to add the result of that math to a new list called prices 2. So that is basically what's happening here. First, I'm going to run this code and show you the output, and then I'm going to walk you through what's happening in the code because it'll make more sense that way. So first we have prices 2, and we're creating prices 2 as an empty list, and then we're just printing it. So that is what's happening right here. And then we start our loop. And our loop basically says for each item in prices, and this is prices. So for each item in prices, take that item and multiply it by 2. So we're going to take the first item and we're going to multiply it by 2. And then we're going to add that item to our empty list prices 2. And then we're going to print that. So that basically is what's happening in this first step. We're taking 2.01, we're multiplying it by 2, and then we're adding that item to our empty list prices 2, and then we're printing it, and the result is 4.02. Now this loop continues until the condition of the loop is satisfied. And in this case, the condition of the loop is continue iterating through every item in prices. So until we've iterated through each item in prices, the loop will continue. And so we see here that for the second item in prices, which is 4.99, we multiply that by 2, and then we add that to prices 2. And now we have the new list for prices 2 that we've printed here. And then we take the third element, 8.99, we multiply that by 2, etc., etc., etc. And that process completes until the loop is satisfied and we have our final prices 2 list here, which has been printed. And then what I do is I print some white space, and I print some more white space apparently. I don't know why I did that. And then I provide you an example here where we have print prices, which is our prices list, and then we say print prices times 2, which is our prices 2 list, and we can see that each element in prices 2 is just the element in prices multiplied by 2. Now, there's another way that you can do this syntax, and this, at the end of the day, comes down to preference. But really, it's preference, but at the end of the day, you want your Python code to be intuitive when you read it. And so intuition when reading code can be different from person to person. But generally speaking, you want, especially with Python, you want the code to be easy to read. I personally think that this format of code is easier to read than this format of code. But we're doing the same thing, it's just with slightly different syntax, and so it depends on what is easier for you to remember, what makes more sense for you. And basically, like I said, same thing for item. For I in prices, take that item and multiply it by 2. So, and then we print other syntax. We're assigning that to prices 3, and we can see prices 3 has the exact same result as prices 2. And I said before that if we, this loop is going to continue until the conditions of the loop are satisfied. So what if we said prices equals prices times 10? And now prices is going to be this big thing. And then we run through this, and we can see that it's just going to go, 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 go. Because it's basically looping through each item in prices, which prices previously had 5 elements. Now it has 50 elements. So it's iterating through 50 individual elements within prices and completing the same thing. So I hope that that was helpful for you. I know it's kind of a crash course on loops, and I do 100% intend on completing a full in-depth video on for loops and while loops, functions and different types of things you can do in Python with these various loops and functions. But that was kind of a crash course, so I do hope that it was helpful for you. I hope that this video was informative. Please, if you have any questions, if anything wasn't clear, go ahead and drop them in the comments. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.